She ran into my shelter for safety, but her eyes filled with fear when she saw a human. The storm came without warning. One moment, the sky above the dead planet was quiet and gray. The next, the air itself began to scream. High-energy winds tore across the broken land, bending light, sound, and gravity in strange ways. Sensors failed. Signals vanished. Even advanced alien ships avoided this region of space, calling it cursed or unstable. But one structure still stood. Buried deep into black stone and reinforced with layers of old human engineering was a small emergency shelter. Its outer surface was scarred and aged, but the power inside never fully went out. Inside that shelter, a human was calmly fixing a broken console. His name was Ethan Cross, though no one else had spoken it in years. Ethan moved slowly, carefully, as if the storm outside did not matter. He adjusted a wire, tightened a bolt, and wiped his hands on a worn cloth. The lights flickered once, then stabilized. "Good enough," he said to himself. The shelter hummed softly, responding to his touch like an old friend. Ethan had lived here for a long time, long enough that silence no longer bothered him, long enough that he stopped counting days and years. He survived by routine, check the systems, repair what breaks, wait for the next storm. He did not expect visitors. The emergency alarm suddenly flashed red. Ethan froze. That alarm had not activated in over a decade. He stood up slowly and turned toward the main door. The shelter's sensors struggled, fighting interference from the storm, but one thing was clear. Something was outside, and it was running. The shelter door shook as something collided with it, not once but twice. A voice cried out, sharp, broken, and full of panic. Ethan's eyes widened. "Impossible," he whispered. "No ships came here. Everyone knew better." The door controls blinked, waiting for his command. Another impact hit the door, weaker this time. Whoever or whatever was outside was losing strength. Ethan hesitated. Opening the shelter meant risk. The storms were deadly, and letting unstable air inside could damage the systems. But leaving someone out there meant certain death. He sighed. "Same old humanity," he muttered. With a press of his hand, the door began to open. The moment the door slid apart, the storm screamed louder, forcing its way inside. A small figure stumbled through the opening and collapsed onto the floor. Ethan sealed the door immediately. The shelter groaned, then stabilized again. Silence returned. For a few seconds, neither of them moved. Then the figure gasped. She slowly pushed herself up, her body trembling. She was not human. Her skin was pale blue, marked with faint glowing lines that shifted with her breathing. Her eyes were large and dark, adapted for low light. Thin plates along her arms fluttered nervously, signs of fear Ethan recognized from old xenobiology files. She looked around the shelter with confusion and relief. Then her eyes landed on Ethan. Her body stiffened. The relief vanished instantly. Her eyes widened in pure terror. She scrambled backward, pressing herself against the wall as far as she could go. "Enno," she whispered in her language. Ethan raised both hands slowly, showing they were empty. "Easy," he said gently. "You're safe now." She didn't understand his words. But she understood what he was. A human. Her breathing became fast and shallow. Her glowing markings dimmed, a sign of panic. She shook her head again and again as if refusing reality. This place was supposed to be safe. Humans were not supposed to exist anymore. The stories said so. Ethan took a step back to give her space. "It's okay," he repeated softer. "I won't hurt you." Her translator implant finally adjusted, converting his words into her language. That made things worse. Her fear deepened. "You speak," she said slowly, voice shaking. "You are real." Ethan blinked in surprise. "Of course I'm real." She stared at him like she was looking at a ghost. "No," she whispered. "Humans are gone. They disappeared or they destroyed themselves." Ethan let out a tired breath. "Yeah," he said quietly. "That's what they say." She hugged her knees to her chest, eyes never leaving him. "You should not be here," she said. "This world is forbidden." "So is breathing storm air," Ethan replied. "Yet here we are." She did not laugh. Instead, she looked around the shelter, noticing the human-made equipment, the patched walls, the handwritten notes stuck to panels. "This place," she said, "it is human." "Built it myself," Ethan said. "Well, rebuilt mostly." Fear and confusion fought inside her expression. "Why?" she asked. "Why stay here alone?" Ethan paused. That was a difficult question. "Because someone has to," he answered at last. Outside, the storm grew stronger. The shelter shook, but the walls held. The alien swallowed. "If the storm finds weakness," she said, "it will tear everything apart." It won't, Ethan said calmly. This shelter was designed for worse. She looked at him again, truly looked this time. He was smaller than she expected. No armor, no weapon. Just a tired man in worn clothes with old scars and steady eyes. You do not fear it? She asked. I respect it, Ethan said. Fear wastes energy. That answer unsettled her more than anger would have. She hesitated, then asked the question that burned in her mind. What is your name, human? Ethan, he said. Ethan Cross. She pressed her palm to her chest in a formal gesture. I am Lurie of the Veli's Collective. Ethan nodded. Nice to meet you, Lurie. Sorry about the storm. Despite herself, a small sound escaped her. Not a laugh, more like disbelief. You speak as if this is normal, she said. For humans, Ethan replied, it usually is. Another violent wave slammed into the shelter. The lights flickered again. Lurie flinched. Ethan moved toward a control panel and adjusted the power flow. The shaking eased. She watched him work, fascinated and afraid. You should not help me, she said quietly. If my people knew, they'd panic, Ethan guessed. Yes, she admitted. They still tell stories, warnings. Ethan glanced at her. What kind of stories? She hesitated. Stories of humans who survived everything, she said. Wars, plagues, stars collapsing, you adapt, you endure, and when pushed too far, you change the rules. Ethan smiled faintly. Sounds flattering. It is not, she said quickly. It is terrifying. He leaned against the wall. We're not monsters, he said. Just stubborn. Silence filled the shelter again. The storm howled outside, but inside something else was happening, something far more dangerous than weather, understanding. Lurie slowly relaxed her posture, though fear still lived in her eyes. If you are here, she said, then the stories were incomplete. Most are, Ethan replied. She looked down at her shaking hands. I ran here to survive, she said. I did not expect to face a legend. Ethan looked at the sealed door, then back at her. Well, he said, legend or not, you're stuck with me until the storm passes. She nodded slowly. And somewhere deep beneath the shelter, ancient human systems continued to hum, waiting. The storm did not stop. It pressed against the shelter like a living thing, testing every wall, every seal, every system. The air outside screamed and twisted, but inside the shelter stayed calm and steady. Lurie sat on the floor near the far wall, her back straight but tense. She kept her distance from Ethan, watching him with careful eyes, as if he might suddenly change into something dangerous. Ethan noticed. He pretended not to. He moved around the shelter, checking panels, adjusting power flow, and making sure the air filters were stable. His movements were slow and relaxed, practiced from years of doing the same tasks alone. To Lurie, that calm was unsettling. Most beings panicked during storms like this. Her people hid in fleets, stacking shields and praying to their ancestors. Ethan worked as if he were fixing a broken light during a quiet day. You are too calm, she said finally. Ethan glanced at her. Storms don't care if you're scared. That is not what I meant, she replied. You act as if this place cannot fail. It can, he said honestly. Everything can fail, that's why you plan for it. She tilted her head slightly, studying him. Your people always speak of planning, she said, even in our oldest records. Ethan paused his work. Oh, he said, what else do your records say? Lurie hesitated. Her people did not speak freely about humans. Even after centuries of absence, the subject carried weight. Fear did not fade easily when it was passed down through generations. They say humans were fragile, she began slowly. Physically weaker than many species, short-lived. Easily injured, Ethan smiled faintly. All true. But, she continued, they also say humans refuse to accept limits. His smile faded. They say when disasters came, humans did not run, Lurie said. They studied them. When environments became hostile, humans changed themselves instead of the world. Ethan leaned against a console. And that scared everyone, he said. Yes, she admitted, because you survived things that should have erased you. The shelter lights dimmed briefly as the storm surged again. Ethan adjusted the power routing without looking. Lurie watched his hands. They taught us that humans bring instability, she said. That wherever humans go, the universe changes. That's one way to put it, Ethan replied. Another way, she said softly, is that you are impossible to predict. Ethan laughed quietly. Welcome to the club. Lurie did not laugh with him. You do not understand, she said. Fear of humans is not anger, it is caution. Same thing, Ethan said. Different packaging. She studied his face. You are not what I expected. What did you expect? He asked. She searched for the right words. Larger, she said. louder, more threatening. Ethan looked down at himself, his worn clothes, his old boots, his tired posture. Disappointing, huh? She hesitated, then shook her head. No, she said. Confusing. The storm continued to rage, but the shelter remained solid. Slowly, Lurie's breathing began to calm. The glowing lines on her skin brightened slightly, showing reduced stress. Ethan noticed. Hungry? He asked. She stiffened again. What? Food, he clarified. Storms like this can last a while. She watched him carefully as he walked to a storage unit and pulled out sealed containers. You carry food for others? She asked. For myself, he said, but I don't eat much. He opened one container and placed it on a small table between them, then stepped back. Lurie stared at it. You trust me? She asked. I trust that you're not here to fight, Ethan said. Otherwise, you wouldn't look so scared. That answer unsettled her more than suspicion would have. Slowly, she moved forward and examined the food. It was simple nutrient bars, processed but stable. You prepared for strangers, she said. I prepared for possibilities, Ethan replied. She took a cautious bite, her eyes widened slightly. It is plain, she said. Human specialty, Ethan said. Efficient, boring, reliable. She ate a little more, then paused. You live alone here, she said. Do you not miss your people? Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Every day, he said. She looked up, surprised by the honesty. Then why stay? She asked. Because leaving would be easier, he replied. And humans don't always choose easy. That answer stayed with her. As time passed, the shelter grew quieter. The storm noise became a distant roar rather than a constant scream. The systems held steady. Lurie finally stood. I must ask you something, she said. Go ahead. If humans still exist, she said carefully, why does the galaxy believe you vanished? Ethan exhaled slowly. Because we let them believe it, he said, her eyes widened. You chose disappearance? Yes. Why? Ethan looked at a dark screen on the wall, one that showed old star maps. Because every time humans entered the wider galaxy, he said, things escalated. Lurie listened closely. We solved problems too fast, Ethan continued. Adapted too quickly. Other species felt pushed aside, not by force, but by comparison. You made them feel small, she said. That wasn't our goal, Ethan said, but it was the result. The shelter vibrated briefly, then stabilized again. So humanity stepped back, Lurie said slowly. Most of us, Ethan replied. Some stayed behind, observers, maintainers. Like you. Like me. She struggled to understand. You hide to protect others. And ourselves, Ethan added. Fear turns into fear-driven decisions, she nodded. Our records say something similar, she admitted. That humans were not banned, they withdrew. That part usually gets forgotten, Ethan said. Lurie walked closer to the sealed shelter door and placed her hand against it. My people are still out there, she said. Scattered. Running from the storm, Ethan joined her. This shelter can hold more, he said. She turned to him sharply. No, she said. If they see you, they'll panic, he finished. Yes. Ethan thought for a moment. What if they don't see me? He asked. She frowned. How? I stay out of sight, he said. You guide them in. That is dangerous, she said. For me, Ethan replied. Not for them. She stared at him. You would hide in your own shelter. I've done worse for less, he said. Her fear shifted, not gone, but changing shape. You are strange, she said. Human, he corrected. Another alarm chimed softly. Incoming signals. Lurie's eyes widened. They are close, she said. Very close. Ethan moved to the control panel. Then let's not waste time, he said. He dimmed the internal lights and stepped back into a side corridor. I'll stay out of view, he said. Just focus on getting them inside. She hesitated. Why help us? She asked. Ethan paused. Because shelters are meant to shelter, he said simply. The outer sensors picked up movement. Lurie took a deep breath and activated the external signal beacon. One by one, frightened voices answered. As the first of her people entered the shelter, relief spread across their faces. They did not see Ethan. They only saw safety. From the shadows, Ethan watched silently. And for the first time in years, the shelter was no longer empty. The shelter was no longer quiet. Soft voices filled the air, speaking in worried tones. Lurie's people, 6 of them, stood close together near the center of the shelter. Their bodies still shook from fear and exhaustion, but relief showed clearly on their faces. They had survived. That was what mattered. Lurie stood near the door controls, guiding them inside one by one. She moved carefully, making sure none of them looked too closely into the darker parts of the shelter, because Ethan was still there, hidden, watching. From the narrow side corridor, Ethan observed the newcomers. Different shapes, different colors, different ways of breathing, but fear looked the same on every species. He had seen it before, long ago. The shelter systems adjusted automatically. Air composition shifted slightly. Temperature balanced itself. Lights softened. The shelter was doing what it was built to do, Lurie noticed. "This structure is incredible," one of her people said. "It adapted to us." "Yes," another added. "No delay, no system failure," Lurie swallowed. "It was well prepared," she said carefully. She glanced toward the shadowed corridor for just a second. Ethan met her eyes and gave a small nod. The storm outside howled louder again, as if angry that its prey had escaped. One of the Veli's refugees trembled. "The storm is growing," she said. "This should not be possible." No shelter should survive this long. Lurie forced herself to stay calm. "This one does," she said. "We are safe here." But inside her mind, questions were growing. Why was this shelter so advanced? Why did it respond like it was alive? And why did a single human manage it alone? Ethan leaned against the wall, listening. He heard the shelter's deeper systems wake up old systems buried far below normal access. They responded to stress by activating dormant protocols. Human protocols, he frowned. "That's not good," he whispered. The shelter was preparing for something bigger. Lurie felt it too. She stepped away from her people and moved closer to the control panel. Symbols she did not recognize flickered briefly across the screen, human symbols. She hesitated. Then she spoke quietly without turning around. "Ethan," she said. He stiffened. "I thought we agreed," he whispered back. "I know," she said softly, "but something is changing." He stepped closer, still hidden behind a structural beam. "The shelter is escalating," he said. "Storm patterns are shifting." Her breathing quickened. "What does that mean?" "It means this storm isn't natural," Ethan replied. She turned to him sharply, fear flashing in her eyes. "You said it was survivable." "It is," he said, "but not accidental." Before she could ask more, one of her people cried out. The lights flickered, hard this time. Warning tones echoed through the shelter, not alarms, alerts. The shelter had detected something. External scans pushed through the interference just long enough to paint a rough image. Something massive moved inside the storm, not alive, not exactly, a structure, ancient. Lurie felt her blood run cold. "That cannot be," she whispered. "Those are myths." Ethan stared at the screen. "Not myths," he said. "Relics." The Veli's refugees gathered behind Lurie, their fear returning stronger than before. "What is that?" one asked. Lurie struggled for words. "An old machine," she said, "from before most civilizations." "And?" another asked. "And it wakes during storms like this," she said quietly. Ethan stepped forward. "They're called stabilizers," he said, every head turned toward him. Silence slammed into the room. Fear froze the air, a human standing openly among them. One of the Velis screamed. Others stumbled backward. "No, no, this is impossible," one shouted. "A human cannot be here." Lurie raised her arms quickly. "Stop," she called. "He saved us." That only made things worse. "Saved us?" one demanded. "Humans bring ruin." Ethan stood still, hands open. "I didn't bring the storm," he said calmly. "I just live here." Fear rippled through the group. "You lie," another said. "Humans disappeared centuries ago." "Yes," Ethan said. "We did." The shelter shook again as the storm surged. The ancient structure outside pulsed faintly, visible through sensor shadows. Ethan continued speaking, his voice steady. "We left because of things like that," he said, "because the galaxy didn't want us interfering." Lurie looked at him. "Interfering with what?" "With balance," Ethan replied. The refugees stared at him in disbelief. "You claim humans protected balance?" one said bitterly. "No," Ethan said. "We maintained it." The stabilizer outside reacted again. Energy levels climbed. Lurie's people panicked. "It is activating," someone cried. "That machine will tear the storm open." Ethan moved fast. He crossed the room and began typing commands into the control panel. The shelter responded instantly, opening deeper system layers. Symbols flowed across the screen, human code. "You cannot control that," Lurie shouted. "I don't need to control it," Ethan said. "I need to talk to it." The refugees stared in horror. "You speak to machines?" Ethan did not answer. The shelter's core hummed louder, syncing with something far beneath the planet's surface. The stabilizer paused, just for a moment. Lurie felt it. A shift. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "Reminding it who built it," Ethan said. Shock spread across her face. "Humans built the stabilizers?" "Yes," he said, "a long time ago." The refugees were silent now. Fear slowly turned into something else. Awe. The stabilizers were made to prevent reality damage, Ethan continued. Stars collapsing too fast, space tearing under pressure, storms like this. You mean, Lurie said slowly, humans protected the galaxy from disasters. We tried, Ethan replied. The shelter shook again, but less violently. Outside, the storm began to weaken. The stabilizer dimmed. One of the refugees fell to their knees. All this time, they whispered, we feared you. Ethan looked tired. That fear kept us away, he said. Which is why the stabilizers began failing. Lurie's voice shook. You left and everything began to break. Yes, Ethan said. Slowly. The storm's sound softened, changing pitch. The shelter system stabilized further. For the first time since entering, the Veli's refugees felt hope. Lurie turned to Ethan. If others learn this truth, she said, the galaxy will change. Ethan met her eyes. That's what scares them, he said. Outside, the storm continued to fade. The ancient machine powered down, and deep within the shelter, long-dormant human systems returned to standby, waiting. The storm was dying. Outside the shelter, the screaming wind slowly softened into long, tired echoes. The twisted light in the sky faded, and gravity returned to something close to normal. The ancient stabilizer remained still, dark and quiet once more. Inside the shelter, no one spoke. The Veli's refugees stood in silence, their eyes fixed on Ethan. Fear was still there, but it had changed. It was no longer sharp panic. It was deep confusion mixed with something heavier, respect. Lurie broke the silence. You should not still exist, she said softly. Ethan nodded. That's what most of the galaxy believes. One of the refugees stepped forward. His voice shook, but he forced himself to speak. All our lives we were taught that humans caused chaos, he said. That your kind nearly broke the stars. Ethan looked at him calmly. We fixed more than we broke, he said. But we made people uncomfortable doing it. Another refugee spoke. You built the stabilizers, she said. You held the universe together. Ethan did not smile. We slowed the damage, he corrected. Nothing lasts forever. Lurie watched him closely. If humans never wanted control, she said, why did you hide instead of explaining? Ethan's expression hardened slightly. Because fear doesn't listen, he said, and power changes how people hear the truth. The shelter hummed quietly around them, its system slowly returning to low alert. But something else was happening. Signals, weak at first, broken by interference, then clearer. The shelter picked them up automatically. Incoming transmissions. Lurie's eyes widened. They are broadcasting emergency beacons, she said. Multiple species. Ethan already knew. The storm was bigger than usual, he said. Others will come. The Veli's refugees looked at each other. And if they see you? One asked. Ethan was silent. That question had no easy answer. Lurie stepped closer to him. They will panic, she said. Some may flee, some may call for help. Or weapons, Ethan added quietly. She nodded. You cannot stay hidden forever, she said. Ethan looked around the shelter. For centuries, humans stayed silent, he said. We thought distance would protect everyone. The shelter lights brightened slightly as external sensors cleared. The storm was nearly gone. Ships began to appear on long-range scans, small ones, damaged ones, emergency craft. They're coming, Lurie said. The refugees grew uneasy. What do we do? Someone asked. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, then he made a decision. We tell the truth, he said. Lurie stared at him. You know what that means, she said. Yes, Ethan replied. It means the galaxy remembers us. He stepped toward the main control panel and activated a wide-range signal. Lurie hesitated. Ethan? It's time, he said. The shelter's old human transmitters came online, ancient but powerful, designed to cut through cosmic noise. Ethan's voice carried outward, clear and calm. This is a human emergency shelter, he said. You are safe to approach. Silence followed, then panic. Incoming signals spiked. Confused voices overlapped. A human shelter? Impossible. Humans are extinct. Signal verified, it's real. Inside the shelter, the Veli's refugees held their breath. One voice cut through the noise. This is a civilian transport. We are damaged and low on power, requesting confirmation. Ethan answered. Confirmed, he said. Shelter can support you. A long pause followed. Then the reply came quieter. We are afraid. Ethan's voice did not change. So were we, he said. The first ship landed minutes later. Its doors opened slowly. Beings from 3 different species stepped out, cautious and tense. Their eyes scanned the shelter, then stopped on Ethan. The reaction was instant. Fear, shock, disbelief, some froze, some stepped back. Lurie moved forward quickly. "He saved us," she said. "The storm is over because of him." The newcomers looked at her confused. "A human stopped the storm?" one asked. Ethan raised his hands. "I didn't stop it," he said. "I reminded an old system to rest." Murmurs spread. One of the newcomers whispered, "The stabilizers." "You built them," another said. Ethan nodded once. "Yes." Silence fell again, heavier this time. One of the newcomers bowed their head. "We thought the universe abandoned us," they said, "but it was you who stepped away." Ethan felt the weight of centuries press down on him. "We never wanted to be gods," he said. "We just wanted fewer funerals." The shelter continued to fill. More ships arrived. More species. Fear slowly gave way to questions, then understanding. Not everyone trusted him. Some stayed near the exits, some whispered warnings, but none left because the shelter held. And because the storm was gone, hours passed. The shelter had never held this many beings before, yet it adapted, shifting air, temperature, and space with smooth precision. Human design. Lurie watched Ethan quietly. "You carry a heavy burden," she said. "Human specialty," he replied. She looked toward the gathered crowd. "They will not forget this," she said. Ethan nodded. "I know." A final transmission arrived, different from the others, official, structured, Galactic Council signal. Ethan stiffened. Lurie felt it too. "They are calling," she said. Ethan took a breath. "Then let them," he said. The image formed in the air, a chamber of many species, old faces, powerful ones. Shock spread across them as Ethan appeared. "A human," one said. "Alive," another whispered. Ethan stood straight. "You hid," a council voice accused. "We withdrew," Ethan replied. "There's a difference." "Because you feared judgment?" another asked. "No," Ethan said, "because you feared us." Silence, then a quiet question. "Are there more?" "Yes," Ethan said, "scattered, watching, waiting." The council hesitated. "The stabilizers are failing," one admitted. "We cannot maintain them." Ethan nodded. "We know." "What do you want?" another asked. Ethan looked around the shelter, at Lurie, at the refugees, at the survivors. "Nothing," he said. "Just permission to help again." The council did not answer immediately, but no one disconnected. That was answer enough. Ethan exhaled slowly. Humanity was no longer hidden, and the universe was listening.